Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. We are going to continue with the remaining chapters of plant physiology. So this one is going to be the changes in guard cell shape and stomatal opening and closing. This is the surface view of the stomata. So there is a radially oriented cellulose microfibrils over here, okay, which is this one. Okay, so what is the function of it? They are oriented radially, macam ni. Okay, so making it easier for the stomata to open radially like this, okay, instead of longitudinally. Okay, so that is the function of the radially oriented cellulose microfibrils. These are the cell walls that surrounding the guard cells. They have nucleus as well, okay, and the vacuole for all the water to be absorbed through osmosis process, okay, and the chloroplast, which plays a major role for the sucrose synthesis during photosynthesis. But this is when it is turgid, meaning when the water is absorbed through photosynthesis. Okay, but for the guard cells, when it is flaccid, the stomach is going to be closed, meaning the water is absorbed out. Okay, and then this is the changes in guard cell shape and stomatal opening and closing on the, this is the role of potassium ion. Okay, and how does the role of potassium ion is going to affect the opening and closing of the stomata? Okay, and the potassium ion is already available in the surrounding of the surrounding the epidermal surrounding. Okay, where does it come from? Everything is been absorbed through the xylem and is going to be spread into the surrounding the guard cells. Okay, so due to the difference of concentration, the potassium will absorb into the guard cells. Okay, when it is absorbed in the guard cells, it's going to increase the solid potential. Okay, so when the solid potential is increased, the water potential is going to decrease. Okay, so when the water potential is decreased, the water potential at the surrounding will be higher, causing the water to be absorbed into the guard cells. So that's why they are showing all the water molecule is entering the guard cells. So when all the water is entering into the vacuole, so it's going to making it really turgid and it's going to expand the guard cells, making it to open the stoma. Okay, radially over here. All right, so when the potassium ion is, when there's lack of potassium ion, or the potassium ion flows out, okay, the solid potential will decrease. The solid potential will increase over here. When the solid potential is increased, water potential will decrease. So the water potential over here is higher, causing the water to flow out. So that's why all the water is flowing out, making it flaccid. So when it is flaccid, the stoma is going to be closed. Okay, so this is the mechanism of the stomatal opening and closing. Okay, so when the guard cells take in water from the neighboring cells through osmosis process, from higher water potential to lower water potential, okay, it's going to be more turgid. So it is going to expand the guard cells. What happened is when it is going to bow outward, okay, bowing outward, okay, increasing the pore size in terms of the diameter, and the cells is going to lose water. But when the cells is losing water, okay, it's going to be flaccid because lack of water. So in most angiosperms, which is the flowering plant, the cell walls of guard cells are uneven in thickness. So the thickness is thicker over here, and it's going to be thinner over here. Okay, and then orientation of cellulose microfibrils causing the guard cells to bow outward when it is turgid. Okay, bowing outward. So the cells is going to, but when the cell is losing the water, it's become flaccid and less bowed, and the pore is going to be closed. Okay, the turgor pressure. Okay, reversible absorption and losing of potassium ion is going to cause changes in the turgor pressure in the guard cells. Okay, the guard cells actively accumulate potassium ion from the neighboring epidermal cell. Okay, so the one that I've explained just now. Okay, always remember the potassium ion is always available in the, what do you call that, the epidermal cells, because it has been transported by the xylem cells, the xylem vessels. Okay, so the flow of potassium ion across the plasma membrane of guard cells, okay, will increase the membrane potential by the proton pump. The proton pump is responsible to transport the potassium ion, okay, into and out from the guard cells. Okay, and then what are the factors that causing the opening and closing of the stomata? So when the carbon dioxide concentration is decreased within the air spaces of the leaf, okay, especially in between the mesophyll, spongy mesophyll, during the photosynthesis, is going to open up the stomata. But when there's increase of potassium ion in the guard cells, it's going to lowering the water potential. Okay, why? Always remember that when the when the solid potential is increased, automatically the water potential will decrease. Okay, so logically, when the potassium ion is increased, you are decreasing the water potential. So, and you are not forcing, like making all the water molecule from the neighboring epidermal tissue to enter the guard cells, and they're going to become turgid. Again, the active transport of hydrogen ion out of the guard cells into the surrounding of the epithelial cells as well. Okay, and also the increasing of the photosynthesis rate. So you're going to produce more glucose. When you're creating more glucose, you're increasing also the solid potential, and you're going to decrease the water potential. Just the same thing happened to the potassium ion. You're causing all the water to flow into the guard cells. Okay, making it turgid and is going to open the stomata. So the guard cells actively accumulate potassium ion from the neighboring over here, epidermal cells, actively. So the flow of potassium ion across the membrane coupled with the proton pump, there will be a proton pump in between, at the surface of the guard cells, that is going to alter the osmotic balance or the membrane potential. Okay, so the hydrogen will be pumped out, okay, of the guard cells. At the same time, the potassium ion is going to flow in, okay, to balance it out, to balance out the membrane potential. So the accumulation of potassium ion over here is going to, if you look at here, all the the potassium ion is going to be really high inside the guard cells, causing the solid potential to be increased, okay, within the guard cells. So when the solid potential increase, you are decreasing the water potential. So if you compare with the epidermal cells, they have a higher water potential. Okay, so all the water is going to flow into the guard cells through osmosis process. Okay, so the concentration in the guard cells will be higher over here during the opening of the stomata. Because all the potassium ion has been entered into the guard cells. So what are the role of potassium in the stomatal opening and closing? The transport of potassium ions, okay, across the plasma membrane and vacuolar membrane, causing the turgor changes of the guard cells, right? Whether it's going to be turgid or it's going to be flaccid. At the same time, also the uptake of anions, which are the maleic and chloride ions, which can be found in epidermal cells, also is going to contribute to the guard cell swelling. Okay. Okay. So sorry. All right. So what if you buy cut flowers, why might the florist recommend cutting the stems underwater? Okay, you're not going to cut above the water, but inside the water. Why? While the cut ends are still wet. Okay, so there are answers over here. After flowers are cut, transpiration from any leaves and petals or the modified leaves will continue to draw water up to the xylem. Okay, so if the cut flowers are transferred directly to a vase, air pockets in the xylem prevent the delivery of water from the vase to the flower. So cutting the stems again underwater will break off the xylem above the air pocket. So there are air pockets in the middle, water droplets to prevent another air pocket to form while flowers are transferred to a vase. Okay, so that is the reason why florists is going to make sure that they cut the flowers inside they cut the stem inside the bowl of water. Okay. So to prevent the delivery of the air pockets that is available, or the we call as an air bubble in the xylem, which is going to prevent the delivery of water. So you're gonna prevent the uptake of water along the stem. Okay, so we look at the transport in plants. The transport in vascular plants occur on three scales. Okay, the transport of water and solids by individual cells, especially the root hair, because this is where the starting point of the water will be absorbed in the root system. And we have two kind of transport, whether it's a short distance transport, okay, from cell to cell at the levels of tissue and organs, and we have a long distance transport within the xylem and phloem at the level of the whole plant. Okay, so this one is the transport in the vascular plant. So over here, if you look at the root over here, root are going to absorb water and dissolve minerals from the soil. Okay, not only water, actually also the dissolved minerals. Okay, and then the water and minerals are transported upward, okay, from the roots to the shoots, okay, through as the xylem sap. And then we have the transpiration over here, which means the loss of water from the leaf surface. Okay, of course, mostly through the stomata opening, creating a force within the leaves that pulls the xylem sac upward. And then through the stomata, okay, the leaves take in the carbon dioxide and at the same time is going to expel the oxygen to the environment. And the carbon dioxide provide the carbon for the photosynthesis process. Some of the oxygen produced by photosynthesis is going to be used for their cellular respiration. Okay, so when the cellular respiration happen, they're going to release the carbon dioxide as well. So sugars are produced by photosynthesis in the leaves, where they're going to produce the oxygen. Okay, why by absorbing the sunlight, and the sugars that is produced in the leaves is going to be transported through the phloem sac to the roots and also other parts of the plant. Okay, and the root exchanges gases within the air spaces of soil, taking in oxygen and also discharge the carbon dioxide during the cellular respiration. Okay, and the oxygen is going to support the breakdown of sugars. Okay, so let's see the axiom of the xylem sac. We have the transpiration pool, the cohesion and adhesion, and also the root pressure. Okay, so this is how the transpiration process happen. Okay, everything starts from the root over here. So there will be water molecules available in the soil. We have the root hair cells and we have the soil particle. So the water molecule will be absorbed, okay, through the root hair cells, okay, and then with the help of the cohesion and adhesion force, okay, between the water molecule, it's going to be the adhesion process, cohesion force, I'm sorry, okay, between the water molecule. At the same time, they have adhesion force as well, where the water molecule will be attracted to the cell wall of the xylem. Okay, so due to these two forces is going to contribute to the transport I mean the transportation of water against the gravity. Okay, without the cohesion and adhesion, it is impossible for them to pull the water molecule from the ground against the gravity. Okay, and then once it reaches the leaves, okay, through the cohesion, adhesion, and all, okay, then once it reaches the leaves, okay, they reach the end of the xylem sap, okay, where all the water molecule will diffuse through the mesophyll cells and then will be released through the opening of the stomata. Okay, so the water molecule will be released into the environment, into the atmosphere through the transpiration process. Okay, so that is why it is really important to really understand how does these three contribute to the transpiration process. Okay. All right, so the transpirational pool over here, okay, the one that I mentioned just now, okay, you are going the water molecule reaches to the end of the xylem sap is going to diffuse out, okay, into the mesophyll cells and will be released through the opening of the stomata and finally released into the atmosphere. Okay, the cohesion and adhesion, okay, meaning that there's a cohesion force between the water molecule, which is the really strong hydrogen bonding. At the same time, there's also the adhesion force between the water molecule and the cell wall. And the root pressure also plays a major role in the transpiration process, where the water molecule, due to the pressure, okay, yeah, due to the root pressure is where the water molecule will be absorbed through the root hair cells, okay, and then will be further diffused into the xylem, okay, through osmosis process and is going to be pulled outwards, okay. Okay, let's see on the routes of the water transport. All right. So the water is going to travel from root. Okay. Root hairs to the xylem via three routes. Okay. They have a transmembrane route, which is via the water channels. We have the apoplastic route within the porous cell wall, and we have the symplastic route via plasmodesmata. Okay, so there's a difference over there. Via water channel directly, via porous cell wall, they're going to travel along the cell wall. Okay, the plasmodesmata, there's a really tiny hole in between the cell wall that allows the water to travel through it. Okay, water and minerals can travel through a plant by three routes. The transmembrane route out one of the cell, across the cell wall directly, and entering the another cell. So via the symplast, where is the continuity of the cytoplasm connected by the plasmodesmata over here. And we have the apoplast, where everything external to the plasma membrane. Okay, there will be diffuse, like this, actually the cell wall, there will be it's a really fibrous. Okay, so, but there's still some really tiny ataupun porous what do you call that macam in along the cell wall there will be a little passage for allowing the water to go through. Okay, so this is the movement of water from root hair. Okay, remember the symplastic and the apoplastic. There's a plasmodesmata, which is the opening between one cell to another, okay, where the water can be transported directly through the plasmodesmata, okay, until it reaches the pericycle. Okay, but for the apoplastic pathway, they will be transported along the cell wall, okay, along the cell wall, but uh, once it reaches the Caspian strip, okay, which prevent the water to flow through the cell wall. So they have the alternative way. They're going to enter again the cytoplasm and finally entering the pericycle. Okay. Okay, so the transport of water from root to xylem. So the apoplastic root, which is the uptake of soil solution by the hydrophilic wall of root hair. Okay, they are really have the affinity towards the root hair has a higher affinity towards the water molecule. So the water molecule is going to be really easy to be diffused in through osmosis process, providing access to the apoplast. Water and minerals can then soaking into the cortex along the matrix of the wall. And then we have the symplastic root, where the minerals and water cross the plasma membrane of root entering the symplast. Okay, and we have the transmembrane root. Okay, if you still remember the transmembrane, where is it? Transmembrane, this one. Okay, that's directly flow through the water channel. As salt solution move along the apoplast, some water and minerals are transported into the protoplast of cell of the epidermis and cortex, then moving inward via the symplast. Okay, and the endodermis over here. Okay, this is the endodermis. All right. Within the transverse and radial walls of each endodermal cell is the Casparian strip. It's a really waxy material, a belt of waxy material, the purple band over here. Okay. Um, that blocks the passage of water and dissolved minerals. Why? Because they are waxy. So they are going to prevent the water to go through. So only minerals already in the simplest of entering the pathway by crossing the plasma membrane of an endodermal cell can detour along the Casparian strip and passing the vascular cylinder. Okay, and we have the endodermal cells over here, also the parenchymal cells within the vascular cylinder. They're going to discharge water and minerals into their wall, which is the apoplast. Okay, over here. All right, the xylem vessels transport the water and minerals upward into the shoot system. Okay, so basically it's the same thing that what we have learned before. Okay, just the apoplastic pathway is going to flow through the cell wall, but for the symplastic symplastic route, they're going to flow through the cytoplasm of the cells, okay, through the plasmodesmata. And we look at the translocation, is a transport of organic nutrient in the plant. Okay, we have the flow sap, which is an aqueous solution that is, most of them is going to be sucrose, traveling from a sugar source to a sugar sink. So what's a sugar source? It's a plant organ that is net producer of sugar. For example, the mature leaves, okay, that is where they're gonna produce the sugar. And where the sugar sink, which is an organ that is gonna be the consumer or a storer of a sugar, such as the tuber of a bulb that we've learned yesterday. Okay, the modified root lah, the modified stem lah. Okay, they're gonna contain a lot of starch as an energy storage. Okay, sugar must be loaded into sieve tube members before being exposed to the sink to the final destination through the active transport. Most of the plant species, sugar is going to move by symplastic and apoplastic pathway. Okay, so the sucrose manufactured in mesophyll cells can travel via the symplast, which is the blue arrow, through the plasmodesmata to the sieve tube members. In some species, sucrose is going to exit the symplast, which is the cell wall, okay, near the sieve tube, and is actively accumulated from the apoplast by sieve tube members and also the companion cells. Okay. And the translocation, in many plants, the flow loading requires active transport because they're going to flow from lower to higher concentration. The proton pumping and co-transport of sucrose and hydrogen ions, which is going to enable the cells to accumulate sucrose. Okay, so a kidney osmotic mechanism is responsible for the active transport of sucrose into the companion cells and sieve tube member. So the proton pumps, okay, so these are the proton pump, okay, generate a hydrogen ion, okay, where the hydrogen from the lower concentration is going to be pumped into the other side. Okay, so making it a really higher hydrogen concentration into at the other side, which is driving a sucrose accumulation with the help of co-transporter protein that couples the sucrose transport to the diffusion of hydrogen back into the cell. Okay, so this is the co-transporter. So when the hydrogen ion is really high over here, okay, is really high, it's going to flow back, okay, to the other side. But when the hydrogen is transported to the other side, at the same time, we call it a couple mechanism, okay, the sucrose will be diffused as well. Sucrose molecule will be transported to the same area as well. Okay, so that one we call as the accumulation of sucrose. Okay, so all right, so the summary, the plants have a hierarchy of organ, tissue, and cells. We learned this one yesterday. Primary growth is going to lengthen the roots and the shoot. Okay, and the secondary growth will increase the diameter of stems and root in the woody plant. Okay, normally for the eudicote plants. Different mechanism transport substances over short and long distances. Okay, transpiration transport water and minerals from root to shoot via the xylem. Have to remember the three factors that contributes to the transpiration process. Rate of transpiration is controlled by the what? Yeah, I believe the three factors. Okay. Um. What do you call that? The root pressure, the transpirational pool, and also the what do you call that? The cohesion and adhesion force. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.